Alright, welcome to my channel. I am going to be doing something different than what I normally do, which is a drawing video.
We're live.
Hopefully the
Hi everyone.
volume is alright. You can hear me. Um, so since I was a kid, I have wanted to or have drawn, ever since I was a kid, drawing like superheroes and high fantasy knights and monsters and things of that nature. Fancied myself to be a comic book artist. It's not, or to want to be a comic book artist, and still have that desire to a certain extent. Probably lack the imagination, I think, and the drive. But this is going to be basically me on the what I'm doing here is following this guy who I've kind of been I've done a few times where he'll draw and I'll go along with him. So I figured it'd be cool to kind of record me. You can see the expert do his thing, and you can see me attempt to do my thing and see how close they come to each other. Last time I did it, it wasn't too bad. Let me show that. He did Ghost Rider. Uh, that's what I ended up coming up with, which isn't so bad. So you can see there's some talent there, and like I said, I lack imagination, so I tend to do pretty decently at times when I'm following somebody. I have no idea who he's doing. McConey? I don't know what it is. So we're going to be, and I don't know what I'm going to say while I'm doing this. So this is going to be an adventure here. Let's see if we're still recording. Make sure. Okay.
Look, the fact is, I'm 100% the most comfortable person in front of the camera, and it's never
Let's see
seen.
if I can get this to
Literally
full screen. Probably easier. As you can see, I have a active house with dogs. I don't know if you can hear them. Looks to be.
I don't know. I think
I'm going to
apparently
use this pencil lead folder.
You know what? Hey, you know what it is? I am actually because I don't want Michelle garbage. I really want
Michonne, apparently, he just said the. So.
I
And usually when I'm drawing, I'll
don't know. It's not really apparent when I'm looking
attempt to, and it looks like that's what he's doing, is that positioning there. So shoulder out, elbow down. You see he's a little bit ahead of me, which is pretty typical. He's pretty fast.
Can you tell me how?
Probably happens when you're good.
No, it's totally possible that it could be.
And so, I don't know if anybody out there who's might be watching this has ever drawn before, but typically people start with basic shapes. Tends to work for me.
Wishes on my end says random intravenous injury. Noise cancellation possibly says story by Osmos. What?
Okay, so, and by those shapes, essentially what I usually end up doing is either coming up, and it probably depends on the angle that I'm starting with. I usually will draw circles. Usually this chest area can sometimes turn into almost what looks like
David to getting baby doll sheep.
a cylinder.
He said no.
As the chest with that's pretty typical layout there, and then your shoulders.
James large
Shoulder. Small shoulder,
There we go.
neck,
Okay.
and the head, which is a circle, something like that, right? So
The new sound setup. I just didn't have it set up here.
I'll just leave that there.
You have the option of.
Jim Trepanier says it's working now, but extremely loud.
And here's the other thing that
Yeah,
I
set to condenser, and I needed it set into dynamic. This one is a
tend to do is, and most people I think are like this as well, kind of split the face in half and then draw the line where you're sort of guessing your eyes land.
As long as the thing's not.
So in this case, this person, and that tends to match his too, kind of lines up with the back horizon of the shoulder there, with the back, I should say. And I think this is a female, so it looks like she's got some boobs. So
We've watched that show forever. Is it still going?
those in there.
Did it ever come to? Is it finale?
This, I curved that in. I usually like that kind of shit's dynamic there. It's, usually when you draw females too, it's more curvy. Goes without saying, I suppose. Whereas the guys, you can usually get away with doing more angularly, kind of straight lines, and cutting them in, and it tends to work for guys more than the females. And I don't draw females much. Of course, I don't draw much at all these days, but
Exactly why I refused to watch it.
so
His wife also refused to watch it for the same reason, so I didn't feel badly.
I get what they're talking about.
But they finally broke me down.
And it's a great show. It's a great comic. To be honest with you,
I think this, based on the drawing, I think
And,
this
you
is a
know,
person
I'm
from
actually
like
reading a comic,
what is that zombie
issue of-
show? I forget it. I watched like the first two seasons, but
And so I'm actually reading it as I go. So yeah,
I just gotta get
just,
the hip structure here. I'm guessing that's kind of a rib coming out.
it's really interesting.
It's interesting too because I'm not necessarily, now that I know what he's doing, I'm not even really looking at him that much. I'm kind
I
of
haven't started watching.
doing my own thing a bit and then staring back up sparingly to see how far off I am.
Possible.
Might be a mistake on my part, especially since I'm just trying to get back into this. So as you can see here, and typically I would draw
Says it's just okay.
a line there, and maybe that's a
It's just okay to
mistake
walk
I
away.
normally make, but because I'm watching him do it and he didn't, I'm kind of
You know,
doing that
here's what
too.
it is, Tommy. Different shows are for different. Sure.
that's the one thing that
I
I
think
tend to
that anytime a show
like about this is that you can see how somebody who's good at this does it, and then maybe there's some slight thing that they do
I don't mean
that you find helps you.
basically what I'm saying is
That's how, especially I assume it's like this with art,
I stopped watching the season.
Maybe it's like this
before
with
it showed up.
music too, I'm not sure, but
oh yeah. Hey, you remember that? I don't know.
because I don't know if this is so much technique,
okay.
meets style,
No.
and maybe that
Okay,
slight
so I
where
might
that
be
gray
confused
area
with what I'm thinking.
is, if you can
This person was-
see somebody else do something different and try it, maybe that really
There were people that looked like that's like
arm angles
okay, so it's
different
I saw
than
it.
his. I don't care. It's fine, I guess.
Maybe that is what he means.
And he may end up jumping to inks at some point pretty
Just draw
soon.
all the time.
Realize this, but I kind of drew the head
She has an
kind of
outfit when she
with an angular jaw here, which is definitely not
They go to the prison and stuff, but he ends up
female-like.
really issues into
Although
hearing.
it's 2022, y'all. So
Oh, Artsy says yes. People that dressed up like zombies.
Yes.
what is a woman, actually? Anyway,
I can
yeah,
make that
see how
case
there's a
work.
big
Yeah.
difference between the gap in the
You can't
chest.
make
They're
it-
so much larger. See, his looks so much better than mine too.
You selling into the camera and me yawning.
I think it's just a matter of my head size.
Oh,
at
by
this
the way,
point.
I painted that Spider-Man.
Thinking, trying to make
on Instagram.
more of a female head, I ended up shrinking it.
Put up.
So it's better. I dropped on. Yeah, he did too. So
On Instagram, I put up a picture of
must have saw that.
Spider-Man.
Just makes
I
more
think Eric
sense.
actually did too in his painting. My painting.
You see how he does it. He's already going the. He did the eyes too.
I got the scan.
Just lightening that up. switch to another pencil here. These artists tend to use these lids, and I find these things dull on me so fast.
I want to say Allison. I think we all know there ain't gonna be nobody got time for that.
Yeah, I did a layout with them in there, and it's do it.
So he's got still an eyebrow there.
Ain't
Typically
nobody
with,
got time. Am I allowed to say that? Or is that copyrighted?
I don't think.
I think I did a bigger eye than he did, but you know what? I'm gonna roll with it. Going manga eye.
Okay.
Especially with females, I kind of feel like bigger eyes work on females. You know, it's like a more of a. Guys tend to be accentuates their eyelashes and stuff like that. So I probably will end up changing it at some
Today
point.
I finally slowed down.
Anyway,
Our first super chat of the night comes from Tavana Nira Stramson
I'm not hating that.
Gabakin. I did that right. But Tavana wants to know
So he's already
why
on the
no
lips here.
hitting sheep day.
Kind of going with him. I see. I would have never done that, but it's kind of what I'm seeing him do.
Conversation with you.
Oh, yeah, because we have enough animals. And we already, by the way, we have 4 sheep.
3 sheep.
We lost one, actually.
So it's funny because I started off with the large eyes, and I think I've made the nose and mouth
So much work into it.
to match the
Right,
proportions of the eyes, and now you can see the head is a little smaller than what I was
Maybe it won't be the big
going
house.
thinking I was
Maybe
doing.
Random Pat super chat for $5.
So let's see
I
if we
think
can
I'm
still
back
make
on
this
the screen.
work.
Dave, inspired me thinking.
I hate erasing. This is one of the reasons why I don't think I'm. One of the reasons why, at least to this point, I haven't been cut out because I am
But you know what? Look, it's
too impatient. I think with some of this stuff.
I'm gonna make it work, and I know what happened.
I noticed some of these.
What happened was I went way too dark. I did some washes because my airbrush wasn't working. Dan Lassard got my airbrush fixed. And I got it back. I used airbrush to wash it again, not thinking that I'm darkening it. Not so dark that
I'm good with that. I think.
fix it. Yeah, maybe, but it just like, you know what.
I kind of think I wish I had smaller eyes like he
The next
had.
painting stream is gonna be
I
coming
may
up
go back and
actually
change
very
it.
soon.
But
I don't know the exact date.
see, I don't know what he's going for. I don't even know what this character is. Looks like maybe a bandana of some sort.
For July.
He's looks like he's drawing a coat.
All kinds of
It's like
different things everywhere.
this is where I really need work at is
I think we're gonna do Moon Knight. And I know I just did Moon Knight. That's the greatest Moon Knight, my favorite.
I'm okay with anatomy. I think at least most of the anatomy, but
Very
the
excited about that.
clothes,
Our
the
first
folds.
guest we have
Just imagining what
confirmed coming up this summer.
folds and clothes do on somebody
Painters,
is
not painter, but I think
not my strong suit. So and I suppose it just comes with time, you know. The more you draw,
is very sick and in the hospital right now. So if you're a person who prays, we would ask that you pray for Tim, or whatever it is that sends good vibrations and good
he's already
thoughts.
on the
We
inks. Look
are
at
praying
that.
for Tim here
hate that.
to get better.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna
We love him.
One of my
stick
favorite
with
artists.
pencils at least for a little while. And not
We hung out
a
with him in
giant
Spain.
ink,
That's right, and we got it in Spain. It's in our dining room, and it.
a giant
I'm glad
ink
I have it
person.
there.
Very
Yeah, that she'll allow me to have up there.
And we have another super chat from Dan Lassard for $5. Dan says, the airbrush wonder kid says, good evening to the Finches and the Fly.
Oh, Wonder Kid.
I don't know if I said what channel this is. This is
Dan Lassard
David
is 500
Finch.
years old.
Is he?
Um, saying his name, just kind of,
Extraordinary.
or their name.
There he is.
And this guy does this
I'm tired.
usually every Monday,
I haven't had a day off yet this week.
which is
And
kind of
you
cool.
say, oh, but it's Monday, except for that, like, I haven't had a day off
And
since
he'll
last
take
Monday.
questions. People have
I'm gonna- my
questions
dinner
about,
last night, I'm gonna go
I'm
back
having
later.
difficulty drawing this, and he'll sort of stop what he's doing and
Yeah, I thought it was out of it.
show
5 minutes before she.
how he draws that, which is
Yeah,
so he may do an
I don't see your
impromptu
faces,
lesson
you mean?
here. See his faces. Hmm. And I think
$5. You mentioned once in a previous stream you tried
it's more the cheekbones just too defined on mine.
incorporating 3D
He's
models, found
definitely-
drawing it yourself to be easier. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, setting up
It up
3D
there,
models and
which is
everything,
definitely more
it's,
feminine,
you know,
which I still
it's not an instant thing.
comport to the binary.
And
Or binary.
I can actually
I don't know what a
just
binary
update it,
is,
but
but-
I can set up a model and set up a background because most of it's using
You can see how the
setting up a background,
see.
getting everything all ready. I wasn't
difference
even used to
between
using lighting.
an
I have
expert,
a
I
technique
suppose.
down, and it's really effective.
You
and
see
it's
how
really
nice his
effective.
looks.
I recommend it. A lot of things, really, but it took me forever. And I did it when I was working on the computer. I was waiting.
But I don't know who this character is, but there was an original drawing that was kind of there, and it looked like a black woman, and
I might end up having to restate that.
I'm kind of thinking mine looks a little bit more like a black
Might end
woman
up
than his does, so
This happened. This
I'm
is
gonna
what
stick with
I
mine.
Email characters.
I won't be able to see the difference when it comes out. Hey, I never claimed it was gonna be great, so
I knew.
I'm gonna help you here. Larry Lambert's gonna help you.
to the hair.
Meredith, it's my birthday on Friday. I need my birthday song. So you know what we're gonna do right now?
I kind of remember her having dreads, so that's what I'm doing.
Larry Lambert.
I don't know if there's a what is the name of that zombie show? I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of that show. I was watching it years ago.
Okay. Okay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I was thinking Larry's gonna have the
A lot of times, what comic book artists will do is draw a little bubble on the lip, accentuates. Not sure that helped. That might have actually been a bad thing for me to do there, but
really don't want to spend it.
sometimes I do okay on hair. But
I'd like that.
may help because this character I think had kind of like messy hair when I saw the original picture, so maybe
To say, these are number one fans.
kind of pirate looking is what I remember the character kind of looking like. So if it starts to get to that point, it's terrible there. You kind of get a feel for hair. Hair's, or when you get the feel when you're doing it right, it's almost like flicking.
I'm gonna end up.
I don't know. He's so good. He just jumps right to ink to do the
One
details.
mighty artist is better at singing, but really I'm just left off.
Just let it go.
Due to me. Not like I can sing. I always sing. I was trying too hard. Random Pat had $5. Let me get there. Dave, when drawing cover pinup, what are some compositional rules?
And that's the
for
biggest
guidelines
things to
employ?
when you do stuff like this is not drawing lines that you don't need.
It's
Sometimes you just get on a roll too, where you're you know, for whatever reason, the lines just line up.
Sometimes.
And then what happens with me sometimes is I feel like they do look good, and then I'll come back to it and I'll look at it later, and I'm like, gosh, it looks terrible. So
Basically, the idea. First, that's been done here, or it's worth here, and it's essentially great. That is, you got your main character here. He's got the crossed out, and I can't do the same part by the way. It's but back in the 60s, that went. So he's got his main figure here. Here we go, and then he's got like a
yeah,
here,
kind of
and
draw the
you can do it, but just in terms of composition, it really
way the folds kind of line up. That part on clothes, that seems pretty decent. I usually do okay with that part.
cover with the X-Men characters.
So
And,
this
green
part's a
here.
little tricky because, okay, so she's
He's
got
taking up the same basic kind of space
a
there.
boob coming out
You got
here,
another
but
character here.
breast, I should say.
And basically, I'm just creating
What the best term
a
is.
composition triangles. Essentially, it. So that's really.
And
way
you
to
don't
go.
know where, so
If
does
I have-
the
maybe I have a
coat,
separate figure.
you can see how she's going to have a coat, and this one's not as big of a deal because it just lays across, so you don't actually know where the fold is, but
He's-
you're going to be able to see this fold because of the contour of the breast there. So when you
And so
when
I've
you
got
have
a
to
figure
figure that,
here.
it's gonna
This
bend.
is a
Now the
very
question is does it fall all the way behind the breast? Does it
I'm
lay
just gonna let
kind of like in between? When you kind of get the no man's land, I find that doesn't work. You can't, if you come in too far, you're gonna lose the curvature, which is gonna not be good. It's gonna you'll lose the feminine aspect of the breast, and then also it won't be as dynamic. So it has to go over. It's just a matter of how much.
like this. So I have my main figure, and
I'm
he's
just gonna
falling
do that.
backward. Here he is falling backward. There's a leg.
Falls, and I
Here's
think
another
that's
leg.
okay.
And then there's another character coming out from like this, you know. And this is Walking Dead cover, so it's
Oh, Walking Dead. Okay, that's what it is.
and he's here. You can see his hat really big. He's kind of
This is a Walking Dead character.
a mess here, but I've got a triangle here, and then I've got another figure here. Another one you can.
I guess somebody asked him a question about layouts.
So this is my triangle of my foreground figures.
I don't really know if I should just kind of let him talk. I kind of feel like, you know,
So
otherwise
this
I
sheet
just
here-
repost this video, you know. So I feel like I'm obliged to
But if
talk
you look down,
from the
you can
amateur
see where my
perspective.
figures are
So maybe I'm doing too much talking.
arranged in that triangle. I try and think in those sorts of terms. Okay, what's the most important thing I'm showcasing? What's the Wolverine cover? You know, I'm probably going to use some kind of a variation on a triangle. If it's a Wolverine cover and he's fighting Sabretooth, I'm going to do something maybe that's a little bit more like this. I don't like it. And you know, another places are William covers are very, very good. Ideas from other covers people have done.
Kind of looks like,
Yeah.
yes. Guess she has a, and see right here you can see where it folds in. Now typically this part's a little easier because you can just dive the lines in at the inward crease. But I find these other areas here a little bit harder because you don't know how much
Yeah,
wrinkles to
actually,
do.
you know what, let's-
You know,
let's-
some people do a lot and they make them look good, and some people don't do any. And usually, sometimes I'll just throw a little wiggle there, and you know, it kind of just gives it some dynamic, even if it doesn't quite match reality. Who knows? I might come back and
Dennis Kelly says, I did not realize how much I missed Meredith and
Probably
Dave
should have done
until
a
Meredith
stream
and Dave
or
and his smile
did
and
one of these
I
with
love
a
my
character I kind of know, because might make it a
And
little easier. But
SBS
maybe
Carla
this is
sent a super
more natural, you know.
super chat for $5 saying, that is an American
Just doing what
Idol
he's doing.
voice. Midget and I are going to give a standing ovation. Now, I don't have American Idol
That.
voice. I know Carrie
Wrist coming down, and it's like a glove of some
or
sort.
Kelly
So
Clarkson. Yeah, it tells you just how old I am. Because that's Jamal Rashid has a super chat for $4.99.
and usually I'm pretty good with hands. I find a lot of I understand a lot of artists struggle with hands, but for whatever reason, that's normally. I mean, I've struggled before, and I might struggle now, but usually I don't.
Cross Contour just wants to know if anyone knows if Dave changed his camera. His pencils seem much lighter now. And you did.
I did.
Camera.
Yes, I did. This is
They don't look as good as his hand, though.
face cam. Elgato face cam. Yeah. Now, I could adjust it. I could make it darker. I could make it pick up pencils more. Maybe I need to.
I need to go back with a lighter pencil here, or not a lighter pencil, but a sharper pencil.
I But, yeah, I only really do what it is. I guess whatever, I don't care.
Get the form out of it. I think the form's good, but I'm not exactly pleased with all
David.
the lines there. So
Alicia has
so that's a
super
weird
chat for
glove.
$2. Glad to be here, Maestro. Sorry, I can't talk tonight. And the boss lady.
Why would anybody?
Right.
That's another thing. It's like, how do you draw?
Weird character.
Of course, in his case, he's already in ink. But I was gonna say, how do you draw light enough to
Long.
be comfortable?
Man.
You know, have to erase it. It's not
Every time I argue,
leaving the page too. I'm not as confident as he is on my lines, so I end up racing a lot more than he does. I don't know what that is.
Don't know what you're talking
Some sort of like, I guess he's drawing a kind of a tattered coat.
Sure.
So
Mike Montgomery has a chat. for
sometimes
$5.
when you're
Hey,
drawing certain
David.
things, you get a feel
I'm so bummed
for.
I missed your Memorial Day stream. I hadn't
Um,
missed one since you started.
That was
Oh my
supposed to be. I
God,
was drawing there.
Sunday night.
Well, good to have you here. And
He does
And
tend
you know
to
what?
have some additional.
life gets in the way. It's
So I'm not good with that. That. It's like he's got a cloak of some sort over her shoulder. That's what's not cool about not knowing the character, because I don't know. Like, he knows when he's doing the guidelines and then he's gonna
you know
come
what?
back
I
and
learned
fill
from
it in,
Rob.
but I don't. So
not fun world that would be great. But I learned actually from the video that he did. It's just really quick.
I almost felt
he
like,
laid out a page.
okay, so he's got a
In the-
coat,
in the-
and then it's almost like a tattered scarf thing over the top, and I thought
I'm gonna
that
show
was
you.
like,
So started
that kind of
he laid out a page.
stinks.
Here we go. And he did panels. I'm not going to bother panels, but you know, he would say, okay, here's a panel, and I want a character. You know, and he's looking up. And so he just draws
Now I'm on a
this
quandary.
guy
Do I just
looking up? And it's just
try to
easy.
stick
And when I
with
start seeing
his
it break it down that easily, it just
character?
you get so lost in it.
I mean, I'm sure that's the way it's supposed to be. She's got some kind of scarf
If you want
or a shawl around her upper body.
So what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna kind of in on my figure. And
What I thought what he was going for, and again, like I said before, I'm not exactly clued into him all the time. I kind of get in my own little zone and start doing my character.
Here's my
And
figure. He's swinging through the city, so I'm kind of looking up at him.
maybe if I knew who I was doing, it might make some more
Now,
sense to
because
do
he's
that.
blind,
But
I can put anybody that I want, but I'm thinking I'd like to be looking up at the buildings too. So you're looking up at them. And so thinking
buttons are
I can
horrible.
angle the buildings this way. Then it looks like he's kind of flat. He's kind of level with the buildings. If I angle it this way, I'm gonna angle all my buildings this way. Something like this.
Think about
So I'm just gonna throw. There's a
that
shape.
whole thing about
I'm gonna put another shape for a building. No, it does
lighter
help with
lead that I
movement
was just talking about.
Kind of get comfortable with just being able to kind of rough in something like this. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I know what I want. That's basically it. And then all I need to do is I'm going to find a point just about here. And that should do it. Either point, I want to be level.
Shirt coming down.
And I don't
I'll
want to
fold it here to kind of give it a little bit of
actually
dynamic there to, you didn't do that, but I'm doing it.
My perspective this way. And it's going up to the point here.
I'll just
And
kind of separate
from
the
that
two
perspective,
cloths,
now
you
I've got
know.
my whole grid. I know basically what I want to do for those buildings, and I
I want to kind of
that's how I do it.
hem the
That's how I do it
corner
for
here a
in
bit
and around
to,
the buildings. And it becomes
just to
fairly easy.
show that they're
The
different.
key for that is draw a box. I'm going to draw a box that I'm kind of looking up at. You know, and I'm just going to start twisting that box around. Drop the same angle, aren't I? That'd be good. You want to just be able in your head to be able to turn it as a 3D object, and that might take a little bit of practice to kind of get comfortable with. And you might want to use like a, you know, it's here, and I could kind of spin it around and draw the angle that I see from it here. I'm trying to
So
match.
see what
It's harder with circles, and people really struggle with this. It gets very easy if you just be really concentrate on actually that round, and try to be accurate. You don't have to be perfect, but
let
there
me
you
see
go.
how he's
And
doing
spin
this
this way
stuff.
and do the same thing.
Again with the
Now,
shapes.
once
This
you can
is
do that, it gets really easy. Just
the
like that in,
foundation
and
for
then-
depth and trying to make something that's 2D look 3D.
And, it works best.
See, I like his. See, he's leading me astray. He knows what he's doing, and I don't.
Chapin Anderson says, "Hey, David Meredith, this is my
Ugh.
first live."
So when
I
he's
watched
laying
it
out
before
lines,
live stream, and I'm
in
so
his head
glad
it makes much more sense to him than it did to me.
Thank you so much for that.
I don't really know what those
Sergio
lines mean.
Hernandez has a super chat for $10. Hey Dave,
Um,
do you guys do requests?
I don't know what to do at that top. I'm gonna have to come back with that.
Does it have to be comic only? I was wondering if you would do a boss
Yeah,
character
he's
from
got-
Elden Ring. If not, how about Omega Red? Love me some Omega.
I think Omega Red's a great choice. We do requests. Now, the one thing about requests is I have.
So it's whatever happens.
That's
We
right.
start
So, you
changing
know,
stuff.
Omega Red's a great character. I'd like to
Gets
get
a little
wonky. Character from Elden Ring. I can totally see. You know what I'd like to do right now? Eric actually is urging me to do it. Is
Oh dear. Bad dear. Should never encourage you. You need no encouragement.
right? Yeah. The
Okay.
the bad guy from the new season of Stranger Things. That guy.
Now the one thing I do like
Actually,
about
I saw-
mine, and this is something that
You guys actually
I like him grew up
was it
with Jim Lee, so he,
It was not one
if
of
I
that kid
do a
that
good drawing, one of the negatives that ends up happening is it ends up
So that's
looking
it,
a
that-
lot like a Jim Lee drawing. So in this case, I'm sure it still has that, but
I've almost got my finger kind of roughed in here.
While you do that, Daniel Castelli has a super chat for $4.99. Good evening, guys. David, do you ever reveal what the secret project you were doing interiors for last year was? Did you? Did you ever reveal it, Dave?
No.
I'm going to go ahead since I have not
Now the reason I haven't,
done anything with that arm. I'm going to go ahead and change it back to the angle.
I gotta say, so
Hopefully that
this has been such a
bite
real
me.
problem.
I did like the
I'm
way
sure
that
that's most I haven't put out a video. And how many weeks have I said I'll have a video up, it's coming, and then it doesn't come?
yeah.
I've just been so
Just more
behind, and
dynamic,
it's been
yeah.
a real problem. And most of the reason I'm behind is
Sometimes it just helps, like
yeah, I got my own
When you're
head, and I just
good, you're just swiping, you're
you know,
and
those are
you're in that mode.
advice, like how to not get burnt out.
find
I say,
it
well, the key
kind
to
of-
not getting burnt out
you
is
end up
really good
drawing
work
better
you
for
do
some
with
reason.
respect to your job. Meanwhile,
Make a mistake because I'm going jumping into details that he's got up there without.
So through it, but I'm
So
I'm
we'll see how
really
the hand
really
is
figuring
kind of
it
comes
out.
out. I'm
Well, so
not
just
bad
because
at hands.
and I'm feeling so
Other things, but not hands. Usually. Sometimes I'm bad at everything.
Anyway, point being, I actually have time.
And I always find
And I
drawing
have
these sort of
paid
things coming
one
out,
panel to do
I
with it.
always
I'm actually gonna do that
usually
tonight
have
before we finish here.
some issue
Done tonight,
because
I've got 2 weeks ahead for layouts I need to turn in, and then my time is mine. I'm spending
you
2
really
days
have
over.
to can't swipe at that stuff too easily.
Don't take that as a
I
problem.
guess that's okay. A
My
little bit more
plan-
scimitar than what he's got going on, but that's fine.
I know I promised things so many times and then fall.
Come back with an ink.
The inflatable sparrow
Pretty
has a
good.
super chat for
Maybe
2 euros.
not.
Dave, you know
Inks are
any
tough.
platform good for digital comics?
Let's see. Okay, so he's got another cake coming in here.
And that's
Let's put it to the stream.
yeah, because that is actually a very good question.
It's a good platform for someone's digital comic streaming. And then we play the music that is from a TV show where people are answer in the form of a question. But we can't actually play that music because we would get a copyright strike. We all know what music I'm talking about.
Yeah, see, that's all wrong. I'm totally out of.
Three
way wrong.
eyebrows.
You see, the size of that is just not right at all.
You mentioned sometimes over rendering, and I have a similar problem. How do you avoid that? Just stick to the plan and predetermined composition.
So let me focus on this knee.
I would say the number one best way to
I gotta
avoid
draw
it
the
that I
kneecap
know
in
of
there to kind of,
is
even though you're not gonna see it when it's done, but it kind of gives you your idea about what
if I'm
that
penciling
bulges out,
the-
and that may affect the clothing. So I kind of want to have it there. I think when you're really good, you kind of know to
rough it
draw.
in. So there's my forearm, and muscles kind of go here. I'm just roughing it in this way.
That
Like that. Now,
shut it
it's
out.
really
What the
easy to get.
thing was there, it's popped out, but
That's a problem. What I'm doing right now is I'm tightening it up,
Like that.
but I also want so it's going to be
Feet.
thicker under here.
can be
here.
pretty tough because they're usually on the ground. They're a little easier when they're
Make sure my
doing some
forearms are
dynamic
well.
pose and flying through the air actually.
By that I mean
But
like
when they're on the
left,
ground, it's
here.
you're used to seeing them on the ground, so you know when it's wrong.
And
So,
I want this to be soft.
continue. So we can get
So there you go. And then I'm going to give it some lighting. So let me lighting, and I'm doing what Jim described as.
pleased with that. It looks like a little streamer.
Where they connect.
It ends and begins
And that's how you
to
get this
much
shape. So
the same category there, so or whatever you call that. It's not, sometimes you need some balance, but you
well as I
need.
possibly can make this
The
a
world's not in a. The world has some chaos to it, so you need to kind of have that
so
in
if I can make this work,
just
it doesn't
even the
need any
mundane
rendering at all,
details,
it's
you know.
fine. Then all I have to do is I can soften out this side here just a little bit. I'll just give it just a little bit. I don't need to. And I can soften this here. I can soften some of this. Just a little bit. And really important to keep my rendering.
Okay. Probably ain't gonna look as good as his once he gets that back
I
up.
like to,
You see what he's doing there with the arm too.
I know
See,
a lot of
man, what a good rendering he just did there with the
I just
shadow
follow
on
it
the
up and
arm.
actually create it. but you want to keep it neat. If you start getting kind of sloppy with it, you'll end up with a mess. Or if
See
you
how he's
just
got
put
that muscle there.
rendering here,
Those little
it
details
just looks
like
like it's kind
that.
of floating. It really needs to be
Kind of
described.
really
And that's actually my book is
make it.
got a book from him, and he talks about this quite a bit. And every line that you put down, you really want it to mean something, and you're sculpting your lines. You're not just in there. And rendering needs to kind of work the same way. So keep it really, really simple. Keep it really, really simple. Maybe stick to something like this. When you can make something like this,
Let me see. Yeah, didn't do bad.
this really worked for me really
So
well. I
just
actually,
slopping it up there, you know,
at Marvel,
throwing it up.
quite a while with this kind of a style. Where it's I think I learned a lot.
What he was talking
Michael
about there, I
Johnson
actually
Curry.
kind of like
Before
that
I know.
style bit where you
mentioned
don't do a
not
lot of
using the
hatching.
rule of thirds for covers and favoring the triangle. Any reason why one works better for covers and one for interiors?
Because for cover, I'm showcasing a central element. A rule of third, the way that works is, so here's my panel, and I'm going to divide it into 3 here and then 3 here. So there's my rule of third. It's not perfect, close enough. And basically what I want to do is use these points for my where I place things. Ideally, you want to use 2. So if I have a large element here, I can put there, and then I want to put a smaller element here, and I'm zooming all the way down.
So
And you can see that looks visually pleasing. There, starts with larger, and it looks.
this is the thing. It's like, do you want
But
to?
it's also very.
Are you happy with where you're at? And you want to start darkening it in? Because sometimes I feel like it helps you
I want something
kind of with your depth. You know,
Frank was at
but
it.
then you get more darks on there, and if you make a mistake and you don't
This kind of
like
thing can really
it,
work
if it's
with everything you-
messy.
I'm gonna do cable. That's gone. Area is really big, you know, and then I can do another figure here, whatever, something like that, and then some buildings, whatever. But that can work. It's just not my favorite. I would prefer for a shot like this to do it more like what I did here, where I've got this figure on the side.
I like that line, but
But it is
it's not
preference.
bad. But it doesn't. It matches the body. To me, the curve of the body, and that's where I'm talking about where it's too symmetric or it's too.
Liam Martin has
It's not
a chat
chaotic
for
enough. It's not.
$5. When making your first samples, to make up your own stories to draw, or did
Yes,
you work
it's-
from dummy
He's
scripts?
got something.
And also, does mailing
Which
samples?
okay, so I probably should have. I was considering this to be the outer
when
code,
I-
so I probably should have just
I did both actually. I got a script, so I did
that.
something from.
Okay, so he
my own
just-
script, actually.
He just kind of came down with a outer coat, which is more dynamic because it
I got
flails
a
out,
response, and this
which is
the
probably
layout.
that should have been my go-to at
Well,
that
in a
point
minute, but,
anyway.
They actually sent me a sample script.
So if we go,
Destroyed, unfortunately, but they
That-
it's incredible how much sample script can show you what you can't do well. But yeah, I would say there are so many sample scripts out there now that I recommend it. You want to find
I've done
something
that too.
is
I
gonna
need to get
showcase
back
your
into
talents
that.
well. Showcase that you can draw everything, and not showcase really the kind of work that you do.
Getting
Not
into some
something that you're really into.
interesting stuff down there. Some like
Samples that are right.
zombies, I guess.
In terms of
You can see the
filling
little
stuff
squiggle
in
lines there. It's kind of accentuating
online,
the folds and the
I don't think that that's really how. So I would say, yeah, that
Actually, got any
it's not
boots or
big
anything.
or not.
One of
That was never an effective
kind of
thing to do in
shoes
the
on
first
her.
place. I got some, here, work on this, work on that. I never got that way. Work that I got was.
I mean, this isn't too bad. I still like his better, but yeah,
No, a while.
it's not coming out bad.
But we're back. Yes, we're starting again.
Right. Max C
Little
said,
fool
"Hi,
he's
Dave
got
here.
there.
I recently bought the
knee.
Batman Noir, which was a book of the week and one of the Monday night draws. It's fantastic. Thanks for the recommendation."
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, see,
I think you guys will like
did
it.
the other thing. Yeah, so that doesn't quite match. Because I followed him more so on this side. He was doing something else. So, even though I kind of like that,
really
you know,
am.
I'm gonna blend the two together. I'm gonna go
And it
with
is an hour.
my is there.
Hunter Barnhart had a super chat for $5. I think Dave meant to say he really wants to draw Tarzan, but Vecna would be cool too.
There. That. I like that. That actually worked out.
Vecna?
Just so that I don't know.
VCCNA
Okay, I don't know what that is.
suggestions.
Yeah, I do know what
Because
that
this
is.
is gonna be in the foreground, I guess.
That one came up. Yeah, Tarzan actually. Great. You know, it would be
So he's doing
love to try and do Tarzan. Couldn't do like, you know what I mean? Like with that in mind.
zombies apparently here. So this will be something.
Other Minds has a super chat for 10.
This is an interesting angle too.
Howdy, Dave and Meredith.
It's always interesting how
Good, but the boys is outrageous.
I'm warmed up now. I feel like I want to go
Dave,
with the
add
teeth here.
butcher with
It kind of
superpowers.
locks in the
West, you.
location of everything for me.
Now, you have two more. One more that I saw. Okay.
It's like, how do you
One
draw?
more that's
See, I can tell my issue here is going to be either going and making a finished face and then
Right.
adding
and the one that
decay, or attempting to add the decay and then not really giving.
Samuel Reyes had a super
The,
chat for $10. I'm working tonight, but watching as much as I can.
Throwing my
Really enjoying the little mini tutorials
anatomy
tonight.
off
Hopefully this question is
because I
simple.
get too sloppy
How
because
do
of
you
it.
draw a
That's what I-
beautiful book? Like an ancient
I don't like that at all.
So, I'm gonna draw. Here's a top. So I'm just drawing.
I think the mouth is teeth are okay. I'm just gonna get rid of those two.
There you go. I think that's pretty good. Yes.
So
You erase that down.
lighten this up. That. Lip a little bit.
Obviously, you can take this. Really, I always like to. I like to break up my line a little bit and give it just a little character, especially on something like this. Curling up the edges a little bit. Spine.
Creepy up in there. That is, he looks like he's looking up at her, which is kind of weird.
Give that a little bit of a curve.
He stops and takes breaks on his stuff because gives me some time to catch
Now,
up
again, it's gonna be as
a little
fancy
bit anyway.
as the most fancy thing in the world. Time, so it's just. And then for the paper, give it a curve like this, and I'm almost.
I mean, you can
With
probably
flat
be
rendering.
forgiving on
Flat
this
rendering.
because it is a zombie after all. There's going to be all kinds of
I could even
weird things going on with it, but
something like that where I've got a page that's kind of
suppose we've all seen enough zombies to know if I draw it wrong, we'll probably know.
shadow under here. Then obviously you can give it some kind of an ornate pattern. Do like things on the corners and all kinds of stuff like that. But this is really all there is to
Kind
it.
of see that.
It's very, very simple. Draw pages,
Give you
shape.
the underside of the nose. This is probably
Lines out like that.
Yeah, here's the angle. But let's see.
There you go. Yeah, more detail you can put on that.
Brad Scott Art has a super chat for $20. Hola, David. Any advice for drawing smaller background characters? In my opinion, I tend to add too much detail to smaller background characters, which is not the best use of time and also confuses the focal point. And this Meredith Roberts. Thank you for the super chat, Brad.
Yes, thank you, Brad. And by the way, I appreciate you doing that. Because you know what, this has come up a few times, and it's a really difficult thing for me to explain just by. So I'm going to draw it. The way that I would go.
And I haven't jumped to the inks, but
I think it's very good.
I guess maybe I don't start on the inks, maybe. This zombie's not too hard since you can make it,
Okay.
you know, it's not exactly the
Oh, you know what? I got room.
most refined looking of
So
creatures,
I'm not going to draw my whole big
so
figure.
it's
You know,
a little bit forgiving, I think.
in terms of detail, but I am going to draw it. Here's a
Wonky there.
You know what? I'm going to zoom in.
That's good.
Small. You get to see what I'm doing. I can find it. It's the new camera here. Here we go. Is that ridiculous? I know it's blue. Okay, so here's my little figure.
And, let's see. I think he was drawing
In his hand.
behind here, so.
Okay, so I've got that, right? And I need a pretty sharp pencil.
See how the teeth kind of lock it in there, you know, just you can almost, and he's talking about backgrounds right now. I mean, if that was in the background
And so
and you didn't want to throw a lot of detail,
just
just the
gonna
teeth
draw-
alone and the shape, you almost intuitively know that that's
the eyes are
somebody's
basically
head,
dots.
right?
Nose is basically
So-
a dot. I should give him air.
Those teeth up there, because his is open more, so I don't want him to be the
It's
same.
just going to be a shape.
Or something.
So, let me think here. And I can add it is established. Meant to be. Now I'm just going to work on the outline.
You can see how
arm
that
here.
locks it.
This is again why it's so
We'll see.
important. Learn how to draw your anatomy. Simply it just outline shapes rather than again muscle by muscle. As important as it is. There, I've got his.
This looks like a regular dude. He's not coming across as a zombie to me right now. He looks more like just a guy. For some reason, I want their eyes really wide,
Okay.
almost like they're in a
So,
perpetual
right,
state of shock.
I'm just
I don't
drawing
know if
that.
that's the way zombies are done or not.
And so there you go. That's basically my figure drawn
But
in.
it does get a horror look to it.
It's fine. It's small, but I can
These crease lines, I
Oh.
think, help.
taking. So I'm gonna light it from a breaking a little with my pencil. So what I want to do is really think in terms of just shape. So I've got that little shape under the chest here. Here's my stomach. I don't know why I'm starting here. Makes sense. There you go.
And my guess too is
And here.
so I'm going to see how good I do with this hand.
Arm. It's one shape. I don't want it to get away.
It's got to be creepy, you know. It's got to have
That
that
down.
weird like
I know
claw
it's small.
effect. perpetual rigor mortis or something like that.
And you really can't see much, so I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to shadow this on. So I want to make sure that all of the technique, the basic lighting that I would do.
The problem
still
is that I
applies.
feel like he's almost too
You just can't.
small, especially compared to him. I mean, he could be in the foreground, but compared to her, live and learn.
So I'm just going much more simple. Shadow here. I said again.
Just gonna be a shadow there, just covering up
Much
some stuff there. I'm almost doing what he's doing now, which is he's doing far away things. I'm more or less just
So there you go. That's about how I
just did like a bicep.
I mean, you can
That's
see
a little
how
too
small
defined for a
very, very small.
zombie.
It's
So
about as much as I could get. If
what
this
do you
was
do with
let's
a
say-
zombie
let's say
bicep?
this- I won't even be able to do it. I can get it on there.
It's like I need this body.
You can see
His hands kind of like in the wrong way.
I can see this with my Punisher. I can see it. But there you go. That's about how much I would really want to think in terms of just lighting.
I don't know how he's
like I wouldn't want,
thinking
if
about
I-
laying
I
these
would've been getting
zombies
lighting
out,
for
but
his right here, I wouldn't want to get in there. Even you can't see it. But
don't really
for me,
like
it's
what's going on here though.
we keep it simple. It's not effective.
And I'm sure he had this laid out before he started, which is a benefit to him and a detriment to me. I have no clue,
That's about
you
how
know,
much I
what
would-
his
It's
design.
not the greatest of when you blow it up.
That's so
At a
bad.
small size, it works fine.
Um,
I think it's just really, really simplified.
but I'm trying to flatten
What I'm talking
everything
about,
out
that
to the
little extra
ground
bump
because
up
I
right
know
there.
the thought is
At a
that
bigger
we're going to
size,
be
sure,
laying
but when you're
down.
really, really small.
I guess she's killed them. I
starts to
guess is
look-
what's going on here, you know. So
That's about all I could. I wouldn't want to leave the face because the eyes are just getting a little shape, and they're in a little shape.
I think I'm going to go to the inks now. Get my inks out.
Right along.
Let's see.
If man wants to know what kind of advertising I'm getting.
You're talking about shape.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Looking at compared to his, that's
$30.
pretty good. And my issue right now is the layout. So as soon as he,
I've also looked at the
I think
ballet
his camera got really zoomed in. I wonder if
Yeah,
I don't know, but let's see. I don't even know
It's
where
what
to
you say,
start
well,
on these
and then
inks.
you're gonna get
Ah.
down and make money. The problem is she can't let anything go. That's a problem. And then also they're new the area, and once enough people start doing it, then
Stream maybe has a joke. First of all, Stream maybe said, just want to say thank you for starting witch drawing, all you do for artists. And did you hear about the guy who swallowed a bunch of plastic horses? His condition was reported as stable.
I had a feeling something like that was coming.
Piecemeal that, but it's going to close off. Better. If you were the person with the post office box, your piece is not yet gone out. It's going to friggin' post office box.
See, I start with this brush
A little looser than I
Oh,
really like.
Can-
Oh, zoom, yeah.
mainly because
I'm
he
like,
does.
this, what's, oh,
Although I say that, and I think tonight he didn't. So, like I said, I'm trying to watch this guy and see how it's done. I don't know what he's doing here.
Story bias.
Oh, yeah, that's- So that's a good idea
Let's run a vote.
because
They're on their way over here.
Yeah, they're all
It was printed and they're on their way. Oh, it's time for the book of the week.
Let me just finish this.
So he's got the hand up, which will definitely help. So I don't know, I didn't think about that, but basically we'll throw
No, I'm not going to now.
a color out there, and then we'll throw another hand.
That is
out
actually
here.
you caught me off guard because I was just reading Dennis Kelly's post that baby goats are awesome and hilarious because when they startle each other, they pass out.
See, the problem is they're not babies forever.
Only they would be.
Lost a sheep already.
You don't want to go through it again, do you? You really were attached to him, weren't you?
Okay. And I feel like this is very appropriate for Clue. This is How to Draw Zombies.
It's time for the book of the week.
Okay, and this is by Mike. This is by Mike Buckus. Personally, I think it's an absolute crime that Mike Buckus' name is there. Well, you can barely read it. I personally think it's say Mike Buckus, then whatever else. That doesn't matter because he is one of the greatest
So a lot of
artists
times I end up trying to look.
of all time. I'm concerned, and my current
What is
favorite
that?
artist.
I don't know if you can tell that.
He is a movie poster artist, worked in video games and concept art
But
and
Like I said, I do pretty good at
illustration and
hands a
all
lot
over
of
the place.
times.
And
You can see that.
has a few of these books is how to draw zombies, how to draw.
Uh,
You can find
I
that.
think I'll just
Highly
do a little
recommend
bit
it.
more detail on this one so
Yes,
that you can kind of get an idea.
Got the hardcover. And um, I think that somebody
Um,
some library
So-
that sold it on. I don't know, but whatever.
okay. Almost confused myself on my own drawing there. So
It's got now.
happens. It happens.
We're gonna read this my way, so I apologize. It's got some stuff on
yeah,
zombies.
okay,
And,
I got it.
you know,
I got confused by
whatever.
the thumb,
Personally, I don't care about
the
this.
finger.
I think that you should because
So-
it's incredible illustration through
There.
here. Just seeing the way that he constructs these things, like the
As you can
knives
see
and
that.
everything.
And if you didn't see it before, you can probably see it start to
Well,
come.
just how he does everything. So
Yeah.
I recommend it. For me, though, what is so great about
Hopefully
this is how he really
still
breaks
looks
down
good
all
once
these
he's done
tools,
rendering it. Looks good in
really
my
good
mind right
tools,
now.
tools he uses. Talks about all the tools. Workable spray fixative, a lot of secrets that are really, really hard to get artists like this to discuss. He's got a bunch of drawing in the book. His drawing is, you know, look at that. That's all on it. Brought into Photoshop at the end. He really doesn't need to though, and I think he wanted to cover a lot of different things. So there's some Photoshop, some traditional. This one here is going to be done traditionally. So he's got his sketch here. It's actually using a marker for this. So really, it's like a Simon Bisley method. So, he's got some brush here just for some texture. Anyway, he's just going through this
So
thing
you see, just throw that knuckle in there.
step by step, and it just looks amazing. And
This
the
is-
descriptions
this
actually
looks
are
pretty
very,
decent,
very
I think,
helpful
for a
how
hand.
he's getting these effects.
And a lot of times, like, so getting the angles
There
of
are
these
better.
hands are usually the hard
No,
parts.
Great drawing again. I'm all about the painting, so I
It's all
apologize.
about the knuckles and the bends hands here. So see how they
This is another black and white
kind
pencil.
of
This is actually, you see a lot of comic artists do this kind of thing where it's done on paper. But he just
throw a little shadow in there to just
there's airbrush in there.
accentuate the
And
out,
actually
you know, that it's inside the between the two. I think the concept of being just a little sloppy on
This is
this
a big
one's
book,
okay
too,
because
so-
it's
This is
a zombie.
maybe my favorite example. So he's got a drawing of a zombie here. He's doing a wash over it, and he actually says so. I mean, I can guess. I'm not gonna read the whole thing to guess the color, but my guess is that it's sienna. Anyway, and he's got some green layered over.
So
it
what I was gonna
here,
say
and going in with
was,
the airbrush, and so with the airbrush,
um,
he's throwing in his.
I guess now that I look at it, this
He's
one's a
not
little
going so
bit
crazy that it
off, but
does it. It's just enough to
that's
soften it.
fine. It's
This is very nice.
It's art.
Something that
It passes.
So
But
And then the next
so
day
this one
there,
obviously is coming out,
he's,
and that
putting
just
the
gives you
paper,
like
really kills a lot of the background.
allows it to be just a little bit dynamic.
And now
I
he's going in
think.
with brush and really brushing a lot of stuff.
Although he
in.
looks like
He's
he's
just leaving it
pointing,
there.
which doesn't quite make sense for a zombie. So I think what I need to do is just
And then you lift
bring
it back up and you can do amazing.
this
I use them
finger down.
and then
in there. So we can make that work.
Just so I can read it. I can't
Yeah,
remember. but
that's-
just so
I
sometimes.
think that's better.
Sometimes you
It's quite not quite right. So if I can get that nail better.
got some more.
Of course, who knows if the zombie would still have their nail, but I need the nails to
This is all just on paper.
make sure they look like fingers.
You can again. You can just really. see
He
the-
had good hygiene before he died, so
He's got all this detail there. and
nails
then
were
he's
in very
using
good shape.
Gesso again, and this is
Um,
20%.
So what I was gonna say was, you see the angles, and that kind of juts out.
And then he
probably,
goes in with the airbrush
Um,
and brings
this was
up
probably bigger than what it should be, so I'll just
And
darken that
it's
in
just the tool
and
that
bring it
works. The tool that works
into a little
as
bit. It's a good thing that is the biggest finger on your hand.
whatever stage that he wants to do,
Um,
because he knows what
and
he's
the pinky, a lot of times, because of the angle,
does that.
it kind of folds down, you
Fortunately,
know,
I
almost
think
like
with painting,
at an
with
angle
anything,
there.
dead ends are going to happen.
So tend to accentuate that a bit,
That's one thing about a neat tutorial that I find.
and then
is
it
it's
also
difficult.
tends to curl in. So you see, it almost
You're going to have problems. You won't
it
see
almost is always some fashion like this
I was
where
doing the tutorial.
a lot of times your pointer finger could be at a different
Yeah,
angle,
example.
but these three tend to
very
be
and
in
really different
varying,
uh,
very to each other, with the pinky being closest toward the palm, and then they fan out. That's pretty typical. So you tend to look for something like that. It tends to seem to match
I can't possibly do it justice.
reality, you know, what we're used to seeing, and it works when you kind of do that. So
I think you want to learn
I don't know if that's helpful to anybody who's out there who may watch this and wants to draw.
pretty good, but
Find that helpful. I don't know.
really breaks it down. I think you could extract
One of the things that's difficult too is when you jut something out, finding the correct angle,
So,
because
there you go. This is
this
fancy underground
part of the
demo
arm
of
gets
these
bigger,
by Mike Butkus and
but
a lot of the.
it's also going away from you, so it's going to shrink. So how do you balance that? That's always been kind of a
There you
difficult.
go.
There's some balance there, and there's some flexibility with it, I suppose. But you know when it's wrong, and it's probably wrong more than it's right.
Martin made, and then got a
The
joke.
more you draw it, the
I googled Buckus and got Bupkis.
Then I'm I'm really trying to get all of these guys. Got a bunch of zombies here. Love to be able to do more with them. Then they have so much time. Just kind of roughing in some stuff. Get out of it.
Dave Dan Santos says the Windex effect will only work if you gesso the board first.
Oh,
Okay, so that doesn't look too bad now.
Thank you, Dan.
And Eric's confessed, Dan DeSantos, we are naughty and never gesso the board.
Yeah, but okay, well,
I'm gonna
there
get my
you go.
thinking.
There you go. Okay, yeah, it's really good work. Yeah, and this is why, like, you guys all know when
hate that
Dan DeSantos, incredible painter with oil, acrylic, very even, and also very, very.
Well, this is not.
I'd say
Right,
hundreds.
let's see.
I think hundreds of.
It's like doing more. Man, I
Knows what
swear,
he's talking.
here was different. Now he's doing it differently. It's just bothering me. Because I feel like she's a black gal with some like dreads, which
Very
I'm doing because I've never done that before. So,
It doesn't matter if it's a summer. I don't care. I would drop
I
everything.
assume she's black. Must be
It's
black to
September.
me on
That doesn't matter. Never. You give me a day's
White
notice,
people
it's
can have
not gonna do.
dreads. It's 2022, y'all. Or is that
Alessandro
cultural
Treppo,
appropriation?
that's
I think it's so
chef.
confused.
Dave, in my studies, I found out the position of the shoulder and clavicle make the figures more dynamic. But it's not easy. Any advice to get better?
Careful of doing the lips there.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so it's like a hinge, right? So you got your here's your figure. Got an opening for where my arm comes in. Here's my chest, maybe a little bit short. And then because I tend to on the chest, I'm always up like this.
I'm
so
gonna
my
delay
head's
that.
here.
I'm just gonna stick with the
You
pirate
don't really
outfit.
see much of them. Ultimately, we're just bound when you do not because it's not what we're doing here. So here we go. Very poorly drawn, I know. But the point is that if my arm's down, that's where it sits and it's fine. If I want to raise my arm, do this, and this is like an action figure. Leave my ball there, and my arm is going to come out from that ball. Try and finish out the anatomy. It's going to look. I can see that it looks bad. I see this done all the time. Here, I'll do the same thing with the other
You
arm.
can stick with that at
I'll
all.
raise that arm too. And it does not look right.
How interesting
And
it is.
it's because you have to lift the. So
Just
really, the
start
secret
doing
to
your
it
own
is
thing over top of the pencil.
When I
Mess
do
up
it,
or what?
I don't. I could say, okay, you can hold this a hinge and hinge that up and the whole thing. I don't actually do that. I've got
Here's looking pretty decent.
my chest here.
I've
I
done
know that
dreads
it
before.
lifts, so I'm gonna lift my arm higher, connect it higher, and then I'll just
Kind of easy to do because you just kind of
This also stretches.
you do
It's gonna be more like this.
because they're
This
you know
is
you've seen so many
how I
different
actually approach it.
styles of dreads. It's
Instead of showing you like
a
this
little
whole
easier to
view
do
of
than
the
the
whole
swoopy
That's how I would do it.
normal mangish style hair with all the
and
cool
and
waves
obviously
and stuff.
my head. If I have arms that are, up over my head like this, and there's a symbol. But here's my chest. I'm not gonna move anything there. I'm just gonna draw that as a chest shape. My arms are all the way up here, and so my clavicle, I'm just jointed to where I've got my arms.
It's bringing us down to me
And
the one I just messed up
My
on.
chest
So
bottom is here. Actually, ends it. Makes my
there. Get some little buttons for now.
yeah, make sure pectorals incredibly thin. And you end up being able to see a lot more of your lines. And so then it looks right. So that's the way that I actually approach it. Like I don't draw a hinge. I do that's all. It's a fairly easy thing when you get the hang of it. Yeah. And like so many things, I wish I could say here's a hard and fast rule because right here.
Yeah, I'm not really taking advantage of the brush until just now, because that's the key with a brush. You can do like some thicker lines, swoop,
Another
change
super
the
chat from Orbital
depth
Death
on 'em,
without
or
a
the thickness
Orbital
to
Death
give
chat.
you some
5 euro.
dynamics.
I'm just popping to say you're inspiring me and many others so much, and I want to thank you.
Very much. I appreciate it. It's somebody new. Okay. I'm gonna lighter from here.
That line should feel like that
No,
line should
it's
be
even covered the way it is.
deeper in the middle, but
Well, I would have been able
I just feel like I missed my spot there.
but it really does. Because the face is more
So,
lighting face in that area.
I'm gonna come back with a lighter, with a thinner
That's I
hand there.
always do it that way. I always think, what is the biggest headache? Look, it doesn't always work. If I've got 5 figures on a panel, they all need to be lit. It's just a single thing. Right? Then lighting showcase the element of the figure.
By the way, I'm saying. I was thinking about this today. Farming for me is like art for you. I just want to try out everything.
I've been trying to paint. Better part of it.
But that's why you're like, when does it end? I don't know if it does, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm just having fun. I'm having so much fun. Dr. Rock Art is here tonight with his
Yeah,
new
Dr.
chat
Rock.
for $4.99.
I'll get back to his hair, I think.
Dr. Rock says, hi,
Finished.
glad to see you up and running, Dave. Which style is the most wanted one at the moment when it comes to big publishers? Great drawing as usual. You the best.
Okay. Oh, yeah, thank you, Rock, by the way. Okay, look, I'm not qualified to answer that any more than you guys are. I'll give you my opinion of what I think is and that is Dan Mora, I think, and Jorge Jimenez are to me the style setters, like the trendsetters of style. I think Sean Murphy.
Your mic's not working well. The same picture.
Coming up on the thing.
Doesn't look too great there.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know how to fix it. I'm sorry. I hope it works well enough. But
I feel like I need more
yeah,
black.
what you have to do is look at
Sometimes blacking something can help. Sometimes it can hurt.
decide what kind of.
Once you black it out,
if you want to
go
be
black, you can't go
an
back.
artist working on the big titles, yeah, you need to look at
Well,
what kind of art.
I guess you can paint it white and start over if you want, but
Bearing in mind that, let's say, Brandon Peterson, for instance, and I started.
let's see.
Be upset, but he started out really doing a lot of Jim Lee kind of work. That was his big thing, and he got work on X-Men, and it worked really well. And then he really found his own style. It did not at all. Got into Michael Golden and things, and it really turned into something. He's been experimenting with this style for years and years. And he has an iconic style, very right way, and it's nothing like drawing. You know, if you decide you want to draw like I'm that is, and I do recommend you look at what is being what that is. I certainly did when I wanted to break into comics. I had it easy in the sense that Image Comics. When I saw that stuff, I thought, no, it just way, and that was the popular style at the time. So trying to work on that style worked out well for me. It's much harder. Like for instance, if you are a big fan of John Buscema, we did John weeks ago. Man, if you really lean into that style, it's a bit of an old-fashioned style as far as getting work is concerned. And it's first to say that, and I hope it doesn't sound like disrespect. The fact is that it does make things more difficult. Look, see.
Messed it up.
I
I like the line, it just didn't end in the right spot.
Instead, because Simon's, by the way, one of Marvel's
I'm just gonna leave that there. We're gonna go with it.
best artists.
If I'm
One of my favorites.
keep
from
doing this,
the
I might come back with some
70s,
white,
Still, and
white
he's
it out,
absolutely great storyteller, very
and
dynamic
restart it, I
figures,
guess.
a huge influence on Rob Spectry and me. Anyway, go on. But he feels like because his work is not really the kind of work that qualified. And I think not the question, one of the legends of the business, but I think he has so much to offer, and you have to look at it this way. There are foundational elements, and then there are stylistic. An artist like Walt Simonson,
Yes, look how good it looks.
storytelling,
Inking style. It's just amazing.
composition, and
It had so much depth.
incredibly important
You can
things.
see how mine's so much more 2D than
things that will
his,
separate you from other artists out there
and that's what I really
as
need
well
to
as you could possibly want to be one. And then
kinda
if you
lock
want
into,
to take some of the
figure
style,
out.
by the
So
way,
I think
Ray
right
and
away,
and more on those guys we're talking about are also
it is
phenomenal
accentuating.
artists and they have great foundation. But I don't think you need to just from
Let's go.
learn it from an older artist. I just talk. You need to shut me up.
No, it's fine. I think maybe your mic is doing what my mic is doing. It's just because you're just like.
Volume is dipping. Here. You know what? Hang on. I'm gonna try something.
And this has always been a struggle for me, is and I know this is like almost, I remember doing an art course and they really talked about the contrasts, and I didn't pay attention enough, obviously.
Okay, so what I did is got rid of all the
It
audio.
makes
and
a big
that gives it
difference in
any
regards
kind of,
to making
sound
everything
gets
pop.
lighter and with that. So if I sound like a weird chipmunk now, that's what happened.
So I could ink or pencil probably if I get
Some people got it down.
efficient
some people
enough.
got that fine. Whenever
Probably
you got
could.
quiet, it
and a good
Yeah,
inker who
well,
knew what they
also-
were doing could come and help me
I tend to be a quiet
and darken in what needed to be
especially
darkened.
when I'm thinking.
Probably one of those guys that needs an inker.
we're never thinking, so that's not really a problem.
I'm coming.
Dr. Rock Art has another super chat for $1.99. Thank you, Dave. That was a great answer. Dave, you were going really quickly, but now you're really slow.
Well, every time I start drawing, I end up doing another, example.
More examples.
There's so much I can do here.
I'm done at 10. John D. Harvey says volume was going up and down, but it's on good.
It really might have been just when I set up the first one, I went through like
And that's what stinks too. I'm scared of blacks. That sounded bad.
Story by Martha says
Because once
super
you,
chat for $20. Hey, David
once you
Meredith, great
throw
to
black
meet you.
down
I've been
there,
over-rendering
you
with
can't
my
take it
magic.
back too easily, as you can see with that line there. And I just don't have the tools to do it right now, so I'm kind of scared to
first of all,
Go.
I like Paper. So I feel a
too
bit
dark.
biased on that one. I think it really works well and it has style that I think
I'm getting a little sloppy with my hatching here.
so how can we answer that completely? I would say
Let's see.
there are so many ways, and I did the example before, so I'm not gonna do a whole example, but there are artists that don't use rendering really, and also don't use a lot of shadow. That to me is incredibly difficult. I can't get my head around it. I can say, using shadows the way that I use them, like blocking them together the way that I'm here, so you have something that effectively you could put out there. It's fine. It doesn't need rendering to be finished. That's my key to to cut back on rendering and have it not take. But if you're not using shadows at all, I truly don't. Because I've never been able to make that. And because it's not really my thing, I haven't really tried. So that's what you're asking anyway, but I'm just saying.
So Vincent Houston has a question. So how do you
See
draw
how
in
he's
your
really
own
just
style, but
darkening
at the
in
same
a lot of stuff
time,
here.
knowing what style the publisher
It's giving me a little bit more confident to go ahead and do that.
Well, the
Because I know I
hard
need
answer
some
to
darks
that
here,
is
so.
that's you really want me to be totally honest with you? Yeah, you don't. You try to draw as much as you can, like the artist approach. a lot of room to try different things within that. But you want the easiest path to getting like mainstream comic work, doing Batman, those kinds of things. You need to be working in style in a similar enough way for the kinds of things that they're publishing. That is the easiest path to do what Sean Murphy did and have your own style that's very unique, or really what Jorge Jimenez did. Now, bear in mind that they broke in working in more of a traditional style, both of them. So you never need to look at it as a principle. Look at it as a starting point, and then you can find your own style within that later. That's got to be your choice, though. And what I'm doing right now is advocating for you to be a clone of another artist. I know, and that's not. That's kind of advice that I can see people saying like, "What you're talking about?" And I understand, but the truth is, it really is the easiest way to break in. Because publishers know what fans' tastes are based on what they're buying, with the current people. And like you saw this with when Joe Mad was really big at Marvel. You had all these artists coming in, working in that style. Some of them disappeared. Some of them adapted when that style kind of passed along. And the fact is that now it would be extraordinarily difficult to get work on X-Men, for instance, working in a real Joe Mad style. That's just, unless you're Joe Mad, it's hard. It just is. So, but that's not to say that you can't pick up the things that he did really well and incorporate it and really make up something that really strong and unique. Like for me, I think Sean Murphy is very, very influenced by Edgar Robinson.
I have no idea what I'm doing here as far as the cape here, but I'm just gonna go with it. This is just sketching after all, I'm practicing. So.
Mr. Finch, you have 40 minutes to ink this. I believe you can do it.
Okay.
The one person we have on the stream whose name I cannot pronounce, as it's written in this record that I can't read. But I do see your comments.
Yeah, Hillman says, I like watching Ryan Otley's art get better and better throughout Invincible. Yeah, I totally agree. And Ryan Otley, when he got that job, he was drawing in a very, very similar way to the original artist. I apologize. I remember. And like you say it, yes, I know. But, yeah, and and then over time he really made it his own. But working in a style that was compatible with the book made it possible. Yeah, it's like a story as old as comics. You break in by doing something that fans want and expect to see, and send them to your, or you alienate them. Like Wilson Kevishik with a huge amount of his fans, and right choice, but he really had some people very upset when he started being more experimental.
Right. Coronas D has a super chat. I was late, I'm here now, and I want to ask, what do you think about an artist that doesn't have a mainstream style art?
I think this is where I can kind of start to get myself in trouble a little bit, because I'm a mainstream artist, and, I fear that my opinions on this kind of thing can sound like, if I'm being honest with my opinion, it doesn't make me right. If I'm being honest, I worry that I'm saying that because of the kind of artist I am, I would say that. If you don't have a mainstream kind of style, it is not an impediment to getting work. It is an impediment to getting high paid work. Like there used to be Vertigo. Some of the greatest artists, some of the artists I think are absolute geniuses were doing Vertigo work. Generally speaking, they weren't making as much as it's not fair, but it's the truth. So you do have to know that, yeah, there are places for you if you work in a style that's more creative and kind of outside the norm. There is a place for you. but the
I
sacrifice
realize
you
I've kind
are
of
likely
stopped
to make,
talking here.
it's not guaranteed for sure.
This probably
but
has a lot to do
you're
with the
likely to
fact
make
that
that
I am
sacrifice.
inking now, and this is probably an example
But, you know, you have
or
to be
a
happy.
symptom of me
Like,
being
like, there are
very
things that just,
unconfident
you know,
in
trying to get rich.
this aspect of
You know, I
art.
don't want to sound like I'm just advocating for.
So,
Look, I do advocate for people.
I'm generally happy with this so far. I think I do definitely prefer his, which is typical. I mean,
It's wise if that's
it's normal
Um,
for me to like his stuff more than mine. He's a professional, so
it's,
has a great non-mainstream style to his work.
Yeah.
He works. That's psycho.
yeah, and you know what? How things can happen in cases like that. He is really incredible. He has a very individual style, and whichever writer, because usually at that point it's a writer that's going to really go out on a limb for an artist that's different. Editors look at editors, but
They're
worried about sales and
They
wanna,
are.
right. So you know, if a writer really pulls for you and says, you know, I think this is the right look for the book, and um, and then fans respond to it, guess what? Now your style is being screamed big. You were off the basis that you did it without any of the kind of advice that I would give, and I think that's great. That's a tough thing to look. It's all tough. You know? No free ride anywhere.
Dallin Cockrell has a super chat for $4.99. Hey David, I'm an aspiring comic artist like you. What are your thoughts on going to college for it, and how would you get your foot in the door?
Going to college for comic art is, in terms of getting a largely a base, there's the Cupid School, and that publishers will actually go and check out the Cupid School. So it's, you know, say it's a waste of time. It's not fair because that's, you know, there's the Cupid School, but generally no publisher cares about your education whatsoever. So it actually won't help you at all. Where it will help is you'll learn skills that you can take further into your career. You can also learn those skills on your own. In my opinion, unless you're going to Art Center in Pasadena or a comparable level of that you're going to get a teacher like this, I think you're better off going to business school. You know, and really for comic art, because you're working with a pencil, there's truly no reason why you can't learn how to do it.
I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. What I want to do is jump on this. I need to fill out
but he's also incredibly talented. You know? Like, could Dan have
this
done it without going to art school? I'm gonna say, yeah, I think he could have.
this
And I
character
remember-
more, but I don't want to
So,
use this
you know,
brush anymore.
that's-
But I want to get
why
down
that
here
way.
and
Also,
kind of
most comic artists I know.
highlight this.
When I say didn't go to school, I don't mean not at all. I just mean didn't go to learn.
I don't ruin the
And,
zombie.
you know, it's
Right now, I
about
think he
how
looks
you
pretty
go
decent.
to art. You really want to think about that. If it's actually going to be
My
a
zombie looks,
for something that,
at least at this
look,
point,
if you're
as
gonna
good
make
as
it, you
his. I'm
need to
sure
be
once he
dedicated to
throws
working
some
on your own.
inks
You
on
need to
there, he's
be
gonna
medium
surpass me
and
pretty quickly.
no school can make you do that. They can. The work that you need to do to pass a course is not the work that you're going to need to do to learn how to truly get the skills to do this job. And so, you know, if you think that, hey, you know, I did okay in school and I got good marks,
Next super chat comes from Allison McClone for $4.99. Allison says, "My style is definitely not mainstream. If I wanted to go mainstream, I tend to look like Todd McFarlane and Nick Turner."
yeah, you know, that's not a bad way to look. Absolutely. And Yeah, Allison, you have a very
I
anime.
almost feel like I need to keep talking, but I don't know what to
influence
say.
style, but it's certainly not the only influence. But it's definitely an influence that's in there, and that is a very very popular style. It right now, do I think it would get you work on Batman? No, but it's not necessarily what you're going for. I think that look, manga and anime are killing American comics right now. So working in that style necessarily is bad.
You see, sometimes it's
Sokol
just
has
a
super
matter
chat
of
for
like
$5.
really
Good evening.
being a little
Painting
messy
by
on this
Oak
stuff and
Oil
just
Painting. Any suggestions?
you know, it's almost like
mechanical design?
flicking.
Also, any books that can aid learning
Just,
like mechanics.
It's almost like being natural in a way. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it. Free, I guess is probably a better way. Freer you are, and I think that that's like with anything in life.
I know who you mean.
If you're confident,
Okay,
you're just more free in what you're doing.
Painting.
And I think that's where success comes from.
Norman Rockwell's.
You watch, like, if you watch a basketball game and somebody's in the zone, they just throw it up, and it goes in. There's no thinking involved. It's just, there's something about that time when you're, and I think that happens, in a lot of disciplines. Right now I'm trying to learn the bass guitar, and it's, I wish I was better at music, but
I keep plugging Dan. Dan DeSantos. But the thing is, Dan DeSantos.
it's like anything. I guess you just,
one of the best. And he's
everybody learns at their own pace.
Medium. I couldn't recommend something better.
Just keep trudging along, I guess, is the best thing to say. And eventually,
Honesty is
you're gonna get better. It's just a matter of
Love the honesty. Kiss the kitty goodnight.
how fast it happens. I think those who are
He's upstairs.
naturals, it happens faster than those who are not.
Look,
Others have to
I'm
struggle
always
at
afraid
it.
of saying
And then there's others, I think,
What's your opinions?
I don't know, I think I've got some
I think
talent
when
at
I'm-
this, but I bet there's people who
when it
I'm
comes to
more
exercise,
talented
I
than
write more often.
that actually are doing this for a living,
You
because their drive is more,
you
or their imagination. That's one of the things I've always said is, or I've thought of myself for some time, is that I lack, sitting down and just
But it is true.
for a long period of time. Of course, I have a desk job, but I just become
Henry
discouraged
Jeremy.
so easily, and
David will not be at the
some of
Winter
the,
Comic Con.
No. Henry's.
because there's some days where
He's in Toronto.
Is he?
my biggest problem, I'll tell you what my biggest problem is. My biggest problem is being a self-starter. I
No,
can
he'll
be
not be doing the Winter Comic.
inspired by others, and so if I'm around
No.
artsy people, I can become artsy. I can become good. But by myself, I'll often sit down with a drawing pad and just sit there with a blank page. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to draw. And even when I start, when I choose from that position, usually isn't good, because I'm just uninspired. So it's that imagination. If I had the imagination, it would be easy,
No, that's what's happening.
easier. And if I did, because I don't have that imagination, I need
Well,
the
let's do
drive.
this.
I don't
Let's
tend to
start
have
by
that either.
asking-
I think if you have one or the other, you can really get by.
390 people are watching right now. Start by asking them to hit the like button. I have not hit the like button yet tonight. I'm going to do that now.
So I need to hit the like button since I'm using their
364.
stuff
And-
here.
256. 256,000
Yeah, see how he's doing
people.
much more
Can't
darks
be
here
wrong.
than when I
If
did.
you are
So
not already subscribed to the David Finch
yeah,
YouTube
that
channel,
looks so much better.
tonight would probably be a
I
good
don't know
night
why I just
because
didn't think to
he
do
says he's
that.
gonna post
It's just
videos
there's something about
or at least shoot them this week. You don't
being
you want to
afraid
miss
of
out on all that awesome
throwing
content.
too much black on there. I just have to get
What
better
are you
at
doing your
that.
videos on this week? Did you already say and I just ignored it?
No, one in it's already. that I crapped out is on it's on how to draw all the muscles in the neck here, connecting to the shoulder. But it's a something that I found I was kind of struggling with. So I want to like it goes all into that, but it's also me studying it. I looked at some good sculpts and some different things because I'm trying to learn it myself again, relearn it, or shore up what I didn't know. And I wanted to. The video is that bit of anatomy, but also I
So
really wanted
this
to
one, I think
talk
I'm
about
just
the way
really
that
gonna go
it's studied.
in with that.
So it's kind of a this video.
Beautiful. And Henry is correcting me. Meredith, I do not live in Toronto. I live in Southwest Ontario at a secret location, the Bad Penny Cave.
And years ago, never looked at that.
Yeah.
Those
Muriel,
there.
Laura says I
Separate the
suck
two
and like
characters
thank you,
here.
Muriel.
How do you draw zombie hair, you know?
It just ended up in a half.
Can't help but think of Scooby-Doo for some reason,
Zombies at the bottom.
drawing these.
Get the zombies done.
Well, I want to get them
It,
locked in.
you did them just so you wouldn't have to draw the feet, right?
Yes. But the feet wouldn't have been affected. Like
I'm
that.
glad.
Stuck out like it. You could have done it, yeah, but the composition we would. And that's
See, sometimes you don't draw the feet, not because you can't draw the feet, or you don't want to draw the feet.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that hates
just I
feet.
feel like it's a really nice triangle, but then it's just it needs like that kind of draw feet and
Alison McGlone is complaining.
oh,
She says with a super chat, so it's important. For $4.99, Allison says that sword looks like a cutlass. Can you shrink the blade width slightly, please? It's driving me nuts. Driving me nuts. I guess you know what swords, Dave.
That way
Well,
you
I
don't
have
see
it.
my sword.
which is why I made it bigger, but it's not reading that way.
See it.
Stop
This
Dave.
is
Killing me.
this is a difference in like I think so
At
that
least
one's
it'll be
hand's
on.
gonna be much more detailed here than what I'm doing right there. That's a nice
Yeah, well, I know what it's like when something
exercise in detail. I think I do understand that a little bit.
no.
Whether or not I'm
Yeah.
knowing something and being able to do it's two different things though.
Allison said she spent 20 years learning how to fight with a kid. So Allison would know what she's thinking.
There you go.
Yeah,
really need help
I'm not
with that,
happy with
so-
this.
So I'm fixing
what I
it.
just did on this here, so but that's fine. Whatever.
Uh-huh. Hey, there you go.
Waiting block for this to chat $5. I'm watching and listening on my smartphone. Thank you guys. Much love. Thank you. Wayne.
Yes,
For taking
thank
us on
you.
your walk.
Don't have to do much
The
detail
exercise
here.
Dave's
I
gonna
think
get tonight.
That's true.
black would be good on this one.
Apparently, Vincent Easton says Jim Lee says nobody care about the feet, so why would we drive? Did
Really?
Jim actually say that?
Not that I heard, like, sure, why not? I don't know. But, yeah, I think they don't care. And they also really can just make it at our brand. You know.
So just really freelancing here with my
You know Arthur Adams. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah. Arthur Adams. all our friends. from the convention.
See, Arthur and Joyce in a couple years.
Literally. Joyce and I were talking today, and she's like, "It's been years." Literally.
Yeah, see, I haven't even, I don't talk about it. That's the thing. Women are more likely to.
You mean have relationships?
That's right. You having to let it go, but I kind of
Let
have
go. Or I'll start singing, and I can't sing that song because that is a super copyrighted song.
to let it go there and start doing
9:46. Got 15. Go, Dave, go. You can do it. We have faith in you. You can do it.
Sloppy here.
The only word that I can think of that rhymes with you is boo. And I don't know.
I
what
like
would
them. I'm
say.
getting a little tired of this myself.
We can stop the song there.
I think Ben,
Just concentrate.
you see how this is
I have no problem
anatomically
with that.
not so great. It just feels like his elbow's too far in toward the center of his. Usually your elbow's out that direction, so it's not necessarily the greatest plan there, but you know it's sketching. What do you expect? You know.
Keith Jones has a super chat for $4.99.
Let's.
Dave, have you read 100 Bullets? And why do you think? What do you think of the cover and interior art? Also, what do you think of Joe Kubert's quill cartooning and illustration? Should I go?
If you can go to Joe Kubert's school, yes. If you can make that work, totally worth it. Yeah. I've actually read all of Upper Bullets. It's actually fairly rare for me to have actually read the books that I have. Great story. Yeah, I think it's.
I think what I'm gonna do now
Some of my
is
favorite art.
I was gonna say. See, I haven't paid attention to what he's done here, and I just got to looking at this whole
renowned
area here.
cover artist and designer. I think what makes his cover so special is he's so incredible at composition and design, and he's a real student of design. Like you can see a lot of Soviet-looking propaganda elements in his art here and there. He did actually. I got it. That would be a great week. He did a Superman book, Red Sun, I think is what it's called, but it's like a Superman as a
I'm just trying to fill this
Soviet
in
agent.
really quickly,
Beautifully designed.
and that should
From
really
the
make it pop a little bit more
costumes,
too. You
kind
know.
of the iconography. Is that a word? It's about the book.
Really would throw the legs
Yeah,
out
I'm
towards you
very,
a
very
bit. You know, make her pop and give you.
And by the way, he did the designs for Ben 10. You guys remember Ben 10? Dave Johnson.
Andrew Jeremic lives close to us, Dave. We have to move. He said, don't be worried or scared. Now I am. I am afraid. Very, very afraid.
I hate when it goes so fast that I'm not even worried about presentation.
Oh, it's always good when you do that. It's
Sun's
this
fixing to
Meredith
come in
Finch
here.
And David Finch. We'll stop the rain here in Washington.
What's up,
You guys
buddy?
Come to Emerald City Comic Con soon. Or better, get to Washington
left.
State.
He knows I'm recording. He wants to be a YouTuber, but not quite
I
now.
have not been to Emerald City and you know what actually it's there. I don't know. I can't remember.
That looks
But it's
horrible.
been a few years.
He's got it all blacked in.
I don't. We're not going this year.
Too.
Oh, Lance DeBoyer totally sold out Henry. They live in Sarnia. We're
No,
safe.
no.
We're safe.
I've been to Sarnia. Sarnia is a place you don't go.
Yeah, because you took the wrong way on the 401.
I know it's not true. Say the same thing. But where we are, but so
You
there's.
thought you were on the 401, but you got on the
I
402
was on the
instead.
402. I ended up in Sarnia before I figured it out. And that's not a short trip.
No, Dave has actually done this. He's not kidding.
Yeah. So when I say it's cheaper, I say I should.
That's not the only wrong turn he had taken.
No, I ended up in Hamilton the same way.
Yeah, he was coming home from Toronto and ended up in Pickering. That's going to the opposite direction.
Yeah, you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Thankfully,
All
I'm
right.
not in the car.
All right, now I'm gonna go
Yeah,
back
I
to.
recall I was in a restaurant.
Well,
When I
I'm
finally
gonna go
realized
to. I haven't been there yet. I'm gonna go to. Go to a thinner size brush. See if I can get her. I've been delaying these lips. I hope I didn't psych myself out on these things.
I
But
think it took me about 6 hours.
I can do hands. Sometimes
Right there.
lips.
Sense of direction.
Something else altogether
Not in
for
your-
me.
List of strengths.
Also, I'm really just not thinking about it. We'll be on autopilot, especially after I mentioned like that you get burnt. You know?
Yeah, I used to do that. I've seen that done before, and I think I kind of cheat a little bit too much on that, but
At least you're paying attention.
it's
to
all
the
right.
direction.
I'll deal with that, I guess.
All right, do you think we can get to 500 likes
Throw
before
an
we
eyeball
finish
in here,
in the next 8 minutes?
because
We're at 471.
I get tired of those
You have to.
473.
drawings
I
where they
feel
have
like
like
say that I think we can do it because
ghost eyeballs.
We've
It's
done it in the
old.
past.
yeah, I say no, there's no way. And that's
Start throwing
But now
some-
we're gonna do
182 already. We
different-
only need 18 more likes. 186. Doing the countdown. 492. We only need 8. Going against the 500. Come on, 494. More people. 498 and 504. Done. Keep going.
Let's see
so
how
that
you
we
can
got
accentuate
in.
a little bit here and
Paula,
there.
do you know
Not
Dave
sure if
Finch
I'm doing this
and
exactly
Rebecca
right, but
in art?
uh,
yes, I don't think he's actually right by the he's kind of got his crew at shows. I basically come up and say hi. He's very nice. Interior art. Oh,
you see how that kind of can accentuate some stuff there. Usually just try to accentuate like round out stuff, I think.
one of my favorite artists. He's Edward was. Yeah, he's actually been a book of the week. We did Bullets a while ago. I started really some big ones for me. and so
Darken that up
That's a big one.
Make the
Yeah, I have all of the bullets. I actually have a raffle copy of some of them. I bought them in a few different formats, and I bought them.
Yeah,
as
it's
much as I'm a
actually
huge fan of
starting
Florida,
to
I bought the art.
make it
I didn't buy 100 bullets. Actually, ever played
pop
reading the
a
story.
lot more. And you see how you just do like little squiggles? It kind of just
And
follows the
I'm gonna say
contour
It's a testament
of
to the art
the-
that Ruth did.
of the
Like,
character.
Greg Capullo, it's impossible
Sometimes
to
with,
write
like,
Greg Capullo's art
And I
without
almost
it.
want to,
He just-
I realized how that this just got darked out and it should really be another triangle piece there, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. I think what I'll do here is I'm just going to accentuate this triangle. That.
Tepoli wants to know if I am also left-handed like David. No, I'm not left-handed. I'm 100% right-handed.
She has smooth brain now.
What?
What?
Can't say something like that.
No? Isaac said no.
Isaac is 13 and I don't any better.
Yeah. Picking up bad habits from the kid.
You sure are. Yeah, like when you punched me yesterday
Oh, wow.
in the car, he reached over and just like, because you had this game that you and Isaac play in the car where you, this is such a teenage boy thing, where you guys punch each other and you forgot that I wasn't Isaac.
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, I barely. I went like, I know exactly who you were.
I
I'm not
wasn't
actually going to punch you.
I wasn't expecting it. I was all tired and falling asleep. So mean.
Yeah, I'm getting a little sloppy here now.
Spending too much time around our kid. He's not supposed to rub off on you. You're supposed to rub off on him.
Yeah, I'm messing everything up now. I think I'm just gonna might call it at this point. Starting to get a little silly at this juncture.
It just caught me so unaware. Told you I was so tired. I made you drive me. I was too tired to drive. I was like smart enough to know I was too tired.
Two. I'm happy with this. It's not bad. Gotta come back and erase that little line and make her wrist a little bit smaller. Makes it more
Right.
feminine and more dynamic, I think.
Hold on.
But yeah,
Laura
that's
wants
pretty
to know,
good
who would you
considering,
recommend
you know.
for fight scenes?
I kind of like that.
John Buscema.
I think that's gonna be it though. I just wanted to come in and get some drawing done, and you can let's see, that's the camera, but you can kind of see what his is, I suppose. I don't know how good that is, but let me take it out to maybe just to make sure you get a little better idea about,
unique and interesting, but they're also just choreographed.
get a
Really, really
idea
well
about it.
thought
I
out.
think
Something like just beyond what you're not going to
too
see.
bad.
Punch and then the
Um,
and then the other arm punch.
and I think some changes need to be made here. It's a little too white. That
I really recommend.
coat ripple goes too far up. You know, I'd come back and change that. It needs to be dark more behind her body there to silhouette her. And did some zombies there that look not too bad. Let's go back to what our
Storm.
so definitely not as good as his, but that's typical. Also, like
trying to
that's a
also
good
match
contrast
everything.
there. The plaid on the inside. I want to do that real quick.
George Perez. Toby
To-
Riley and George Perez did great fight scenes.
It's always a case of you need to make the decision of what works for you, and you can tell when you look at somebody's work if the way that they break a pull, it's another great one for fight scenes. If you look at it and it just really
That really just breaks things up. That's perfect there. Kind of
say that's a good choice.
makes it
Same
a lot
fucking
better.
shit.
But it's good work tonight, I think. Not too bad for somebody who's out of practice. Or I think the last time I sat down and did something like this was
Final countdown.
that Ghost Rider, and that was
music in their head. You
that
can't
was at
do
least a month ago, maybe longer than that. So but anyway, hopefully this is something that, I imagine if anybody watched it, they probably forwarded through just to see what it ended up getting to. So no problem with that.
Read your super chat.
But anyway,
Unless you had two
I
super
think I'm gonna
chats.
call it on that.